How did you like the job?
I hated it.
You didn't like it?
No, because I worked at a bank and people were always like, give me my money back. And I'd be like, I can't give it back to you. But then I secretly would, and that's how I got fired.
Wait a minute. You would give people their money back?
Oh, yeah. It was fun.
Even though you weren't supposed to?
No.
So what would happen? They would say, oh, I want my money back. And then you'd say, well, that's not our policy. And then you'd go...
They would make very strong points of being like, hey, I only overdrew by like $2 and you guys gave me $90 in fees. And I'd be like, yeah, we did that. We banks be doing that. And then I go back and I give them back their fees, and sometimes I find old ones from years back and I give those back too, because then it's like, oh, a surprise. You go back to your bank, oh, like I got $60 back, but I was like, no, you got $500 back.
Wait a minute, this is fantastic. This is great.
Yeah, well, I just my whole life kind of grew up in this whole thing where it's like, I don't like banks. I think they're stealing our money. And then I worked at a bank and I was like, oh, I was right.
Okay, well, glad you didn't mention the name of the bank.
Wachovia Bank.
That's a commercial we're not getting. You still got those Folgers people, though.
Don't get me started on Folgers.
Shut up! Not a word out of you, Funches.
Best part of waking up my ass.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz. We have so much to get into, but first, let me start off by saying, if you were not aware, we know that the Trump administration, via a poorly written, extremely vague memo, put a freeze on federal funding. A judge has currently said, we're going to put a pause on that. You can't do that. So that's where we stand right now. So take a sigh of relief. I know January has been the longest year thus far. It has. But get comfortable, get some snacks, get some drinks, because this is going to be a long century. Okay, it's going to be a long century. All right. And regarding all the updates throughout the day, you can check over on my TikTok page for everything that has happened. But as always, let's jump right into it. And let's jump into what I like to call white immigration woes. There's two videos, but I'm going to come back in between the two and we'll discuss. Okay? I'll see you in 2 and 2.
Just got another letter from Immigration Services. I've made a video about this before, but I'm a U.S. citizen, born and raised in Tennessee, went to college at University of Kentucky, met my husband there. He's an immigrant. He moved over to the U.S. for college on an athletic scholarship from England. We've been married almost 3 years now. We're coming up on 3 years. So you would think he is well on his way to achieving his citizenship, or at least having his green card, right? No, wrong. And why can't he get his green card? Because his medical records aren't complete. And what is missing from his medical record? The COVID vaccine. Like, it is the year 2025, and we are still requiring the COVID vaccine. You can see it right here. It's backwards. Disregard. Complete the COVID-19 vaccine. But this is what they do. This is what they do to people who do it the right way. I can't even tell you how much money, thousands of dollars, we have spent on the different forms and applications and immigration lawyers and all of the different things. All for everything to expire on their time anyways. And for all you people who say, oh, Riley, your husband's here illegally, he should be deported. Just so you don't understand immigration, he is very much here legally. There are other ways to obtain residency than a green card, like visas or advanced parole. Or those of you who say, this is what you get when you voted for Donald Trump. Obviously, my husband can't vote, but if he could, he would have voted for Donald Trump. Change is coming with the current administration, but he has to undo everything that the former administration has done to our immigration system, both legally and illegally. Oh, and when they campaigned on the tagline, my body, my choice, this is proof they never really meant that.
First of all, can we point out that she pointed out advanced parole? Why? But let's also break this down. My body, my choice. Being pregnant isn't contagious. It's not a health risk to the people around. Not getting vaccinated is why we have a resurgence of measles outbreaks. Again, is why what RFK Jr., I'm sorry, did to Samoa was detrimental. Damn near knocked out the population of their children. But she's saying, oh, just say you don't know how immigration works because of people just like her that will lie. How many people that have come over here for asylum seeking refugee status, where you have to be on United States soil in order to start the process, can afford tens of thousands of dollars, can afford immigration attorneys? See, they sell you the lie that it's a quick process. And once you're going through, like, they'll pay for the whole process. And once you're done, they just throw money at you. That's not the truth. But how many people do you think paid attention to that as she was saying what she was saying? Because also, did you catch? They've been married for 3 years. They met in college. So they dated through that point, whenever they met, and got married. But he should be further along in the process, given that he proposed. And it sounds like he proposed to push the process forward because, media coming out the United States says that if you marry a U.S. citizen, somebody born here, somebody naturalized here, you just get through quickly. Absolutely not. But you're at the final step and you're refusing to get a shot. Why didn't you put your husband on camera to say that? But wait, of course, there's more.
Love this for you getting everything you voted for. Thank God I'm getting everything I voted for. Thank God. The alternative was like World War III. You people are psychotic. Actually psychotic. Go look at the comments on this video, which I will tell you me and my husband cracked up at. I will say I was surprised by how many liberals commented on this that were in full support of mass deportations of any immigrants in this country illegally and the criminalization of those who are harboring these immigrants. Lucky for me, that is not the situation me and my husband are in. Cope and seethe. Like, this is the point.
Is this at the point we're supposed to forget that at the Republican National Convention, they had convention printed and distributed signs saying mass deportations now? Are we supposed to forget that she showed us the paperwork that her husband is technically illegal and she's harboring him? Because if she's not harboring him and he's on board with all of this, sweetheart, why do you look like you've been crying your eyes out in every video that you come online to say you don't care about anybody's opinion about? Number one. Number two, why is he not in any of these videos with you? Y'all are married and I think living in the same home. Now I know that every relationship is different. I'm in a relationship where I'm not always every single day in the same domicile with somebody, but they don't have a problem tagging me. That they don't have a problem saying my name. So I can at least, when we're not right next to each other, come back and go, yeah, they're right. They are speaking on my behalf. This is how I feel. What are you doing? I don't think he would have voted for Trump. I don't think he was kicking with you. Cause you look like you were balling. Were you balling because he may not get citizenship because you want to take this hard stance? Or did he already leave you? No judgment. No judgment. I'm just saying, because I'm seeing specifically a lot of white women up in arms because of their vote, but wanting to double and triple and quadruple down on their vote being right now that their families are being affected. And we know because of COVID, they're going to do this. These are the same people who lost family members that still lied. Now, I'm old enough to remember the lies that swarmed around HIV and AIDS, but they were quickly shut down because people wanted the information. And in real time, before the internet, folks were getting checked. Like, no, we're not going to perpetuate that. Like, when the if you kiss somebody you can get AIDS, and they were like, no, do you know how many gallons of saliva you would have to swallow to get AIDS? Like, first of all, who's trying to swallow somebody else's saliva just a little bit, let alone a lot of it? But then with COVID and Trump combined, it's like people were like, I will lie for you. I'll lose everything and continue to lie for you, because we're not going to say disinformation, misinformation, misinterpretation. It's a lie. They know that they're fucking lying. Because how many people did we watch sit up there and go, I was cured of this, or, oh, this is a hoax. And then in the eyes of an angel, we found out they done passed away. Their husband done passed away. Their kid done passed away. Their mother-in-law, their mother, they're like, absolutely not. But liars beget liars. Let's look at Trump projecting, because you know the lie that he tells about immigration and secure the border. I've said this before. I'm going to keep saying it until it drills it straight into your psyche. The United States does not have just one border, and the most unsecure border is the northern, every border but the southern border. And in the midst of people being murdered at the northern border, we're still stuck on the southern border. But this is what Trump has to say about it.
I feel like I am losing my mind. Listen to what Donald Trump just said.
They're just everybody's going to empty out their prisons into our country. I said that. I'd do that if I were heading up any one of the many countries that you know about, not just South America, all over. They take their prisons, their mental institutions, and they empty them out into our country. Can you imagine a person doing this? Can you imagine somebody doing that to our country?
Can you imagine someone just emptying out their prisons into our country? You just did. You freed like 1,600 January 6th insurrectionists. You emptied the prisons into our country.
Quick caveat. There are, for the people from January 6th, the insurrectionists that partook in Trump's self-coup. Yes, there are different types of coups, and that was a self-coup. We're not talking about the ones that just walked in, walked around, and was like, oh, I'm going to leave. No, the ones that were violent, the ones that contributed to people's deaths and forever disabilities, they already had extensive records. One was never released from prison because of additional charges they had. One should not have been released from prison and is currently on the run for soliciting a minor. And another one was shot to death by a police officer, highway patrolman, because allegedly, and I hate to say this, but I believe the police officer at this point pulled out a gun and is dead now. And he went to the insurrection with his uncle. But do you hear the projection? Trump is saying, well, these people are emptying out their prison. First of all, these people, because I need y'all to realize the narrative shifts and the edits that are being put forward. These are people that are coming across the border on foot, emaciated, dirty, all these things, which means they made the trek on their own. If these other countries are emptying out their prisons, Are they emptying them out in the middle of of cities and hoping that they decide to go to the US border? Because when he released all them criminals, they didn't make like Taco Bell and head for the border. Like, it is easier to hide, even in plain sight, in your own country than to go to another country. This is why I think it's laughable that so many white people think that Jesus was white. Do y'all just ignore the details of that scene y'all like to recreate during December? Because how would a whole white family with a whole white baby blend in where they were at? Like, they looking around like, where they at? What, they wouldn't have to ask. They wouldn't have to. You would shine bright like a diamond. So yeah, the criminals are really criminals get released every day in the United States. One of which is now sitting behind the Resolute desk. He didn't flee. Shit, he said if he lost the last election, we would never hear from him again, and he ain't shut the fuck up since. But you hear that projection but see, he emptied out our prisons and he didn't immediately put them on anything to go anywhere. But speaking of Muskrat Muscolini, are you on any meta apps? You ain't got to tell me. You ain't got to tell me. But you might want to check who you're following. Take a look.
What happened to me yesterday was our makeup artist, Lucas, had said, oh, have you seen the stuff that's going on with who you're following? Do you know that you're probably following Trump and Vance on Instagram? I said, I'm not following Trump and Vance on Instagram. He goes, open up your Instagram. And I looked and I went, how am I am not following, but it says I'm following Trump and Vance. And I panicked and I said, how did this happen? I unfollowed and then I started to look it up online and I said to myself, I was following the former vice president and the former president, but those accounts have been archived and those are separate accounts. Yeah. New accounts popped up and they automatically made me follow the new accounts. So that's a problem. It gets worse. It gets worse. So I unfollowed saying I will not support them at all and I don't want the algorithm feeding me stuff because of the people I follow. So I unfollowed. All of a sudden last night, I said, let me just double check because I'm hearing people saying you're following again. It's possible. I said, well, no, they won't manipulate my account. I opened it and I was following those counts again.
Now, most of you know, some of you don't. I work in tech. I don't just work in tech. I own a tech consulting company. Because a lot of people, I've seen this question over multiple platforms online and multiple people, I've heard conversations, people have conversations with me. They're like, well, why didn't they just roll over like they normally do and force you to go in and unfollow? First of all, there are people who don't realize that there's been rollover. There are people who got on social media. We had a president and vice president that they were aligned with. They liked it. And they think that they're still following those people, not realizing those official pages change. So a lot of the following count aren't really supporters. Keep that in mind. But they archived it and created a new account with Zuck because he's tired of being pulled in front of Congress for the things that, you know, Congress is now accusing other companies of doing because they can keep being placed back on followers. When social media companies try to tell you that they cannot protect you from bullying, cyberbullying, harassment, yes, they can. Yes, they can, because Meta is the same company that owns Instagram, that if you block one account from somebody, it blocks all their accounts. Well, they say subsequent accounts, but as somebody who was stalked for years On Instagram, there are workarounds. I am not going to tell you here what those workarounds are. From what I've learned from being a techie and being stalked by somebody who figured out the loophole, not going to tell you because I don't want y'all out here stalking. But that's why they're going to keep saying, oh, well, we have these numbers and we have this support. You need to get in your mind, since the Apprentice series, Trump is focused on numbers, and he believes that as long as he has the numbers that he can screenshot and put out, he's the man. This is the same person that shared an AI photo of him, Mr. Against AI, dressed as a 1920s, 1930s mob boss. Now, I've joked for quite a while, those of y'all that have rocked with me for a while on this podcast, that Trump lives his life as if he's Fredo, as if he's Godfather 2.0, like he's going to be the next trilogy. Because that's what he's looking for. That is what he's looking for. And also, I need y'all to start pushing back on these platforms because they're making everything very stalker friendly. Very stalker friendly. You're thinking that things are a convenience for you to keep up with your favorite creator. I need y'all to get that single white female mentality. Yet no, they're becoming stalker friendly. Just because somebody is a mutual with you on a social media platform does not mean you need to get a notification of every damn thing that they do. I'm just saying. But there is a conversation that we do need to have. Now, I'm going to open with this video and we're going to circle back to Trump and some other things, but we need to start with this video. And bear with me, quick trigger warning. I need y'all to stop saying that people that are of a certain age within a certain generation, once they die off, racism will also die off. No. I said this in a class of mine yesterday. I'm going to say this here to you all. Racism turns the people who embrace racism into chattel slaves of racism. And let me explain in Cliff Notes version. You're working for free. You're taking your time, energy, and everything else away from your family, your friends, your loved ones, your significant others. And you are forcing your children to go down the same pathway. And you're spending all of your time searching out melanated people to disrespect. But take a look at this.
Shits that families are being separated if somebody's getting deported. I actually find it hilarious. It gives me a great deal of comfort. I have no sympathy that your child might grow up without a father because he got sent back to Mexico or whatever. I mean, y'all are welcome to go with him. Don't forget that's an option. That's a choice that you're making, right? I don't have any sympathy for your little videos that you're making on social media with all the tears. I don't give a shit. I'm actually fucking laughing at you that you're sitting there crying for attention. Okay. I find you guys to be subhumans. All right. Now, while you're sitting there judging me because I don't care that families are going to be separated from each other, I'd invite you to recall that hundreds of J6ers were separated from their families for something that equates to little more than a trespassing charge. Where were you then? Okay, bye.
Little more than a trespassing charge. Are we going to ignore the weaponry that was brought? Premeditated. It was brought. It wasn't like these people took a 45-minute, a 20-minute, or even a 15-minute break before doing what they did. They left the ellipsis fully armed and prepared. But did you catch how she said that to her, they're subhuman? That's been passed along to her. That's from that original tyrannical Christianity doctrine. That's from that original pseudoscience doctrine. This is what allowed human beings to be placed on census data as livestock. But she was so proud and stood on so much business. And she's like, oh, I'm not worried about you judging me, that she privated her account. But she has been found and she has lost her job. But let's take it a step further. Let's go into the connective history, and then I'm going to fill in some more blanks for you all on the other side. As always, I'll see you in 2 and 2.
Did you know that it only took that one German guy with the mustache 60 days after being voted into power to become a full dictator?
Actually, it was technically only 53 days, and he did do it all constitutionally. First of all, absolutely love that creator. Go watch their video, super important. Yes, Jewish people voted for the mustache man because they didn't believe that he was going to do everything that he said he was going to do. Sound familiar? Let's talk about it. First of all, this wasn't asked of me, but I want to shout out to The Atlantic for being super chill and contacting me, recognizing that we all need to work together to cover this on all angles now. Because yes, in only 53 days, in a party that won by 51%, it was hardly the majority, they dismantled the democracy and destroyed the constitutional republic through constitutional means. So listen up and listen well. We're going to do this quickly, but I bet you if we sat here for hours, we could go down the checklist and find out they're pretty much using the same playbook here. The moment that the mustache man got elected, he wanted to make sure that no one could do to him what he just did to everyone else. So even though they only won by 51%, they started growing their seats and absolutely stacking full of the right. Similarly to how the Supreme Court now leans to the right. They wanted to make sure they had total authority over their executive branch so they could speed run any law they want. But maybe even more concerningly similar to what we've seen the last few years, the mustache man ran by making the general public wary towards facts and news, right? He kind of pioneered the fake news trope, so that he could say one thing and do another, but when the news reported on it, people just wouldn't believe it. Or even to the point where he would say something horrific and they'd be like, he doesn't mean it, or come up with excuses, living in some sort of cognitive dissonance. Does that sound familiar at all? Looking at you specifically, Elon. Also, of all their departments, he established a dedicated department who focused on gaining total control of the news and the media, and pretty much all forms of communication. Does this sound familiar at all? Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and soon possibly TikTok. And a lot of the way they did this was by fear-mongering certain groups of people. You know, people that didn't fit into their idealistic view of the German family. And they started all that by aiming it at two very specific groups of people. Yes, that's right. This was around back in that time, and they really, really went after them. And I think you already know the other group of people that they focused this on, right? And so they began by doing mass deportations. That's right. What we now know as a word I probably can't say on here began by just calling it mass deportations. This is why paying attention in history class is so important, and probably why they want to go after the Department of Education. And how do we stop this? I don't know. I'm just a girl who reads articles and notices patterns. This one's pretty obvious, but at least let's start calling them what they are, although I think they might actually like that at this point.
The blueprint is from the United States. Hitler got everything from the United States. He took notes from us, from this country. We are not in a time of the United States borrowing from Germany. Let's dispel that. Now, we can say fake news started from Hitler, but let's really look at it. Hitler convinced multiple countries, because Germany didn't do this alone. Hitler was not alone. There were other people that aligned with him that helped him do this, and he expanded past Germany. Let us not forget this. Hitler convinced people of a eugenics Euro standard that he did not meet. Let me repeat. Hitler convinced people of a Euro standard that he did not meet. Now, this is the one thing Trump has learned from reading Mein Kampf over and over again. And no, I'm not reaching. It's heavily documented. Research it for yourself. Trump has read it. He can't read anything. I'm pretty sure somebody else read it for him because he hasn't mastered English. So don't really think he's sprechen the Deutsch. But anywho, stranger things have happened. Trump has convinced people. He literally said, "Hey, Hitler, hey, from beyond the grave, hold my Diet Coke." Okay. He has not only convinced people that he is a lifelong millionaire, but that he is astute in business, that he is an intellectual, and that he embodies the American dream. This is why I think I need to redo my breakdown on Trump from when he first, well, the second time he ran for president. And that's how he got into office, because that wasn't the first time he ran for president. He convinced these people that he is a business mastermind. He is not. He is legitimately the lucky loser. And there's a book by that title that breaks down who he is, which, yes, I will be adding that to Taz Club, the book club. Just give me a minute. Y'all are throwing a lot of books at me right now. But we need to stop this narrative that Trump is borrowing from Germany. No. Trump just went into the archives and said, and blew the dust off of it. I don't think enough of you know that Hitler had two portraits of Henry Ford, one which was huge and one that was smaller. Hitler learned how to do to not just Jewish individuals, but anyone that did not fit his eugenics Euro standard of the Aryan nation that he put forward. Because are we going to ignore how he treated the Berlin Olympics and people that were present at the Berlin Olympics that were melanated? Are we going to ignore the LGBTQIA plus individuals that he convinced, just like the Republicans convinced the log cabin Republicans to join his forces to get more of their people to say who they were? Because we know in LGBTQIA plus, a lot of times you can hide in plain sight. And he killed them off. Are we going to ignore that being Jewish is an ethno-religion, an ethnicity, not a race? And it is an ethno-religion that you can take some classes for and be welcomed into. You can make white people the spokesperson all day long, all that you want to. But if that's what you're going to do, you cannot say that you're daily persecuted. And do not call me anti-Semitic. I'm saying the truth. Because right now, as Elon Musk is giving a Nazi salute, and for those you go, no, that's a Roman salute. A Roman salute and a Nazi salute are the same thing. That's like me saying, oh, I'm putting on tennis shoes. And then somebody else go, no, you're putting on shoes. Same fucking thing. Or me saying, oh, I'm going to put these heels on. Well, those are wedges. Same fucking thing. But Deborah Messing, Mayim Bialik, Michael Rappaport, Chuck Schumer, Amy Schumer, where you at? And for my Jewish brothers and sisters that are on the front lines always fighting against anti-Semitism, When Black and brown folks are saying, hey, Jewish people, you're not making a big enough stink, they're not talking about you. So stop making videos going, oh, you should look for more Jewish people. You're not connected with more. No, 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 no. When anything else happens, we're flooded, we're inundated with things. Where are the congressional hearings? Where is everybody calling for Elon Musk not to be a part of Doge? Are you're not ready to talk about that? Okay, you're not ready to talk about that. Okay, I understand. Hypocrisy can make people get real quiet real quick. I mean, it happens. It happens. Now more than ever, stop taking things out of context. And if you're unsure, I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. I offer open discussions twice a week. Links are always in my bio. I know there's a trend now because of a professor not really understanding how TikTok works and wanting to connect with the students at the university that she teaches at. So now we have Hillman Talk, but I've always offered these classes. Partake in them. Links are in the bio. Come through the book clubs. But I'm going to need y'all, before you start just being so boisterous with your whole chest. This is not the United States borrowing from Germany. This is the United States going, we can bring this back. When Donald Trump said he wanted to make America great again, I need y'all to realize what they're doing. They're going after indigenous people to the United States, the Native Americans, and detaining them. They're building concentration camps and calling them concentration camps. I need y'all to realize when I say that we're going to continue to groundhog history until we decide to learn it and face it head on. In the United States, they started off with trying to enslave the indigenous people, and that did not work out for them. And then they moved on to Black people. But I also want to say this because I said this on Blue Sky, so I'm going to say it here. We are now in an era where we will finally know who is really of their ancestors and who is not. And Black folks, I need y'all to stop, and I've said it so many times. I need y'all to stop saying, I'm not my ancestors, because when you're saying you're not your ancestors, you're saying you're a part of the Coontastic Coalition. You are definitively a part of the Coontastic Coalition because your ancestors were fighters. And before y'all think, well, no, slaves were here for so long before there were rebellions, baby. Click the link in my bio because we're going to go over one of the first rebellions of enslaved people in the United States on Saturday for the Saturday adult class. It didn't, yeah. Nah, Black folks recognize real quick this some bullshit. And for those of y'all that are like, what about the Slavs? That's what slavery was called about. No. Because if you're going to talk about Barbary slavery and all these other iterations of slavery, you cannot blame that on the Slavs. And I know the opening of a book that you read, because that opening of the book is widely available online and you grabbed hold of it. But just like that woman who has now privated her account but been fired from her job, there's a teacher down in Texas that Oh, his feathers are ruffled. He feels disrespected about being doxxed. Well, he didn't realize, well, actually, he did realize he was doxing his students. Take a look. As always, I'll be back on the other end to discuss it even more.
This is the face of Northside High School teacher Jason Buchanan. I'm gonna let you get one more look at this face. This is the face of a high school teacher that suggested ICE pick up his students out of Texas. ICE posted on X about their arrests, to which he replied, "Y'all should come to Fourth Ward, Texas, to Northside High School. I have many students who don't even speak English and they are in 10th, 11th grade. They have to communicate through their iPhone translators with me. The US government should totally overhaul our school system in Texas too." But he didn't stop there. He goes on and says, "And tell the farmers not to hire people they know are undocumented so they can pay them less. They know they are breaking the law." In another hypothetical Democrat talking point, when 47 did that, he was called a racist. LMAO, y'all are so ridiculous. Y'all people are dumb. Illegal immigrants are a huge problem. Those jobs will get filled again. Sometimes it has to get worse before it gets better, even if that's true, but guess what? It's still on Biden, so blame him. Listen, I am not a teacher, nor will I ever be. I don't have the patience for that, and I know that about myself. But I feel like being a teacher is pretty similar to being a doctor, where it's almost like a sacred duty to protect and love these children. Otherwise, why are you a teacher? Like, if you hate these children so much, then why are you teaching? I am going to leave.
So much to unpack. First of all, let's go to why farmers hire migrant workers, okay? There's something that you all are not told. Farmers spend so much money, because it's mandated by law, to advertise to the United States, those residing within the confines of the borders of the United States. They have to do this for months on end about jobs that they have upcoming. No one applies. No one even calls to ask about the wages. Migrant workers contribute to our taxes, Social Security, Medicare, all these, and they don't get to draw from it. So when they're trying to tell you, oh, you know, the money is dwindling, we may not have enough to pay out. How? If you're paying and people who cannot draw from it are paying, where's the money going? Now, y'all know I'm going to tell you where the money's going. And as always, make sure you fact check. It's going to the wealthy that have found loopholes where they don't have to pay into certain programs, but they'll surely draw out of it. And before you go, but Taz, they don't need it. I know they don't. But they make us jump through all these hoops. They don't make them. Just like you're confined by your credit score. Have you ever noticed how many freebies, and all of a sudden when you get to a certain percentage of wealth, credit score doesn't matter? Y'all have watched all of these documentaries, all these docuseries, all these rags to riches stories. And you know that if somebody gets rich overnight, how were they buying all this real estate? Because if you've ever purchased a home, you know the process that you have to go through. You know the credit score you have to have. You know all of, like, they get all in your business. Okay, it's pretty much like a woman at a gyno appointment. Like, they want to be up in there. But they don't care. Even though a lot of people watching this podcast right now don't realize that they're older than the credit score system. Just like a lot of people watching right now are older than the whole myth that pink is for girls and blue is for boys. And pink is my favorite color, and it has nothing to do with me being a girl. I think even if I was non-binary or a boy, I would still like pink because pink makes me happy. It makes me smile. It brightens my day. So pink it is. But yeah, just like they're hiding from you that DEI was to protect protected classes. Are you over 40 and in the workforce? Did you realize that you're a part of the protected class? You get knocked up. Did you realize you're a part of the protected class? If you don't belong to the umbrella of tyrannical Protestant Christianity within the United States, you're a part of the protected class. And the list goes on. They didn't tell you that, did they? Of course they didn't. But also, with this teacher, I went to a high school where we had foreign exchange students, obviously. And there were teachers that would ask, and you do things to accommodate. But you're talking about children needing to use their phones. There are hearing impaired students that use their phones when they're like at my school, we had interpreters. So there were interpreters that went class to class with us. We got really cool with some of the interpreters and we had jokes with some of the interpreters, but I digress. In Oklahoma today, shout out, stood up and said, hey, we ask about the origin stories of our students to better accommodate them. The United States does not have a national language. And it says a lot that we have Native Americans, indigenous people to the Americas. And white folks think that they can determine who belongs here by complexion. Oh, why should I find Jesus? Who said that I don't have Jesus? You know what? You know what? Let's keep this up here, so everybody knows who you are. Me talking about history, you wanted to bring the biblical sector up in here, and you really should have researched me before opening your mouth and deciding to put this onto your digital footprint. So I'm really going to make an example out of you. Hi, I'm Taz J to be precise, okay? I am ordained in Protestant Christianity within these United States. So I know the difference between tyrannical Christianity, foundational Christianity, and the Christianity that is perpetuated within the confines of these United States. I know that the United States is the only place that there are missionary missions. And I also know that the only way to draw people into Christianity is to have my light trimmed and burning. And that means that I need to be perpetually refilling the oil of my lamp. My light should draw people in. Who I am at my core should make people want to come and go, "Oh, girl, how you doing this?" And then I can tell them about it. But you don't. And do not ever, ever, ever again refer to me as your sister. I have 8 brothers in total, okay? And I have many more that I have acquired along the way on this journey that I've been on. Okay? So that's what we're not going to do. But with that, want to leave y'all with this in closing. And as always, make sure you check out the links in my bio. No matter how you like to get information, if you want to join me in a class, join me in a class. I am not your traditional teacher. There's like, we're not in the confines, but I want to leave y'all with this. And as always, thank you for joining me here. And as each one teach one, each one reach one. But this woman, when I talk about my granny, my abuela, she embodies her, or maybe my granny embodies her. I'm not quite sure, if they're close in age or anything. I don't know. But take a look, and I'll see y'all next time.
You have a ritual in the morning that you do.
I brush my teeth.
That's right.
I spit it out. I go, and then I lean forward. And I pause. And I tell myself, pretty bitch.